Peter Shergold, we promised in last month's show that we would actually get across some of the Australia Day honours. Did you see any messages in those awards for the social economy?
Well, I think I did, because it is becoming increasingly apparent that if you are a business leader, you're probably going to have done something else other than business to have been recognised. And there were some very good awards. So there was Bob Every, who of course had a very fine career in the steel industry. I think he's now the chair of Wesfarmers. But essentially, when he got the honours, it was on the basis not only of having done that, but of being a leading exponent of corporate social responsibility. He's on the board of Redkite and so on. And then, interestingly, Graham Wood and Andrew Bryce, they're the what-if people that I'm sure you've used them to find cheap hotel rooms like I have. In a sense, they made their money out of that, but have then, since that, become real social entrepreneurs and philanthropists. And in a real sense, that's what's being recognised. Interesting, it's become quite controversial because Graham Wood, of course, puts a lot of money into environment, including last election, $1.7 million into the Greens. And now they're arguing, should they really have accepted that or not, given their position on political donations?
Since we last had the show as well, a few announcements from the Commonwealth Government. The 2012 report on government services has been released, Peter. What did you note in that?
Sometimes you think the Council of Australian Governments doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. So this is quite good. It's been a presentation done by the senior officials, led by the chair of the Productivity Commission, and it's got a lot of good information in there on how human services are actually being delivered in Australia today by government.
Now, also importantly, the government's committed to help fund community organisations for this very big wage increase that we saw as part of a decision by Fair Work Australia. Is there any feedback from the sector about worries of a danger that you actually see some community services reduced because they've got to cope with that higher cost?
Absolutely. You've put your finger on it. So you've got, the Fair Work Australia hands down very significant 19 to 41% increases over 8 years to community workers. I suppose good news, really hard-working people. 150,000 people will benefit, 120,000 women, because this was, was there gender discrimination? Yes, there was. But the key is now the community organisations who employ them, how are they going to be able to pay these wage increases? And then it goes back to government, because governments are using these community organisations to deliver services. So Commonwealth Government is saying, yes, we're going to find an extra $2 million. WA have already put in $600 million, but the other state governments now are going to have to find money to support these organisations if you're not going to see human services actually reduced.
Yeah, finding and paying workers, I know, is one of the challenges that our Social Business in the Spotlight coming up has mentioned as well. We'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, though, a push underway to establish an Indigenous Community Development Corporation, Peter.
The crunch here is you get money coming to you out of the native title working negotiations for native title. Question is, can't you put that money away, set up a fund for the long term which has tax-exempt status, so that you can then use it to fund Indigenous businesses, create employment opportunities for Indigenous workers? It's not just Indigenous leaders who are pushing this, also the Minerals Council of Australia.